Hi again, here's a question that involves function notation and the natural log. So we're given that f of x equals e to the 2x minus 1. And g of x is ln 2x minus 1. Now they want me to find an expression for for f of g of x. So what's f of g of x? F of g of x means you find all the g, or you take all of the g of x, which is ln 2x minus 1, sub it then into the x here of the f of x. That's what it means. So it's f of g of x would equal e to the power of 2. And then, as I said, when you're doing f of g of x, you take what g of x is, which is that, throw it in for the x right here. So it'll be 2 ln 2x minus 1. And then we still have the minus 1. So this 2x minus 1 from, the ln of 2x minus 1 from here, I just put it in for the x, and I still have the 2, and I still have that -1 right there. We need to simplify this because when you're dealing with the e and the ln, you could simplify further. So let's see how we could simplify this a little bit further. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go e, I'm going to throw the 2 on top of there. That's the ln, or the log rule allows you to bring the exponent, bring the number in front and make it as an exponent here. But this -1 here, I want to get rid of it by changing it to e to the -1. Now, some of you would ask me, like, how did you get that? Well, if you multiply the same basis, which is e, the laws of exponents say if you multiply the same basis, you add their exponents. So if you go this, add this, you'll get this. So this will give you that. So that's how we got rid of the -1 and made it e to the -1, because if we multiply these two, then I'd have 1e to the power of all of this plus the -1, which is -1 right there. Now this makes this really easy now, because we know when we have e ln of something, we could cancel the e and the ln right here, and we'll end up with 2x minus 1 squared times e to the -1. Now you might argue and say, why can't you do that right away? Just cancel the e and the ln 2x minus 1 right from the start. No, you cannot do that because of that 2 doesn't allow you to do that. And that -1 also doesn't allow you to do that. That's why we had to manipulate this equation and make it into this before we could cancel the e and the ln e. And we could go a little bit further with this, because e to the -1, it's a negative exponent. So we could change this to 2x minus 1 squared. And I'm going to bring that e to the bottom here and make it e to the power of 1. And we don't even have to write the 1 with invisible 1. Okay. And that's a. So that's a in its simplest form. So the second question is asking, us to determine, I have too many eyes there. So determine, yeah, that's determine the domain of f of g of x. So basically the determinant of the domain of this. So when you want to do the domain, you go right from here. What we know about domain when we have lns, that we cannot ln 0 or a negative number. So whatever we're learning, which is the 2x minus 1, that's what we're learning. We take that, the 2x. The 2x minus 1, and we have to say it has to be greater than 0, because we cannot log a 0 or a negative. So this has to be positive for us to be able to learn it. So now just solve this, and you get 2x is greater than 1. Divide both sides by 2 by 2. And the domain will be x is greater than 1/2. So any number that's less than 1/2, you cannot use it for the axis here because you'll end up with the negative number and you cannot log a negative number. Now we'll go to answering question C. Find the value of f of g inverse to the power of -1 means the inverse of 3. Okay. So here you could go ahead and change this equation to its inverse because this is almost saying y equals this. You change y to x and x to y, and then solve it and do all of that work before you could sub in the 3 that's here for the x. But the shortcut that you could do is that when you're dealing with the inverse, the x becomes y. So it's like having the y here. So this x becomes y. So if you don't want to do the inverse of this, then instead of subbing the 3n for the x in the inverse, you could sub in the 3 for the y in the original, because you remember the inverse is basically swapping the x and the y. So the y becomes the x and the x becomes the y. So again, you could do the work to find out what the inverse of this is. But since they're saying to you the inverse of 3, the x in the inverse is 3. So the 3 in the original would be the y. So you could just work from here and you don't even have to find the inverse of this equation. Then you could just go 3 equals 2x minus 1 squared over e. Now we multiply the e into 3, cross multiply, and we get 3e equals 2x minus 1 squared. And at this stage, I'm going to square root both sides. So I'm just going to throw a square root here and square root there. And don't forget your plus or minus when you square root. 3e equals 2x minus 1. And I'm going to move the -1 to the other side, so it becomes +1. So I'm just going to write +1 right in the front there, and that would look better. 3 to the e equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. Therefore, x equals 1 plus or minus √3e over 2. And that's the answer for C. Okay. So this is for the first question. We're going to go to the second question. And the second question says solve the following system of equations for x and y. So here we have a linear equation and we have an exponential equation. So this will be a little bit tricky to do. What should we do first? So we're going to use the method of substitution. And so I'm going to take the x plus y equals 4. I'm going to solve that for y. So that we're going to be y equals 4 minus x. And now, if this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, I'm going to sub 3 and 1. So basically what it means y equals 4 minus x. I'm going to sub in the 4 minus x for the y right here. That's what that means. So I'm going to have 2 to the power of x plus 2 instead of y. Now the y is 4 minus x. So I'm just going to change that. 4 minus x equals 10. Now 2 to the x plus, I need to change this to 2 to the 4 times 2 to the power of -x. Remember in the previous question, I said, when the bases are the same, if you multiply them, you add the exponents. And if you add 4 and minus x, you're going to get 4 minus x on top of the 2. But we need to break them down here to be able to solve this. And the next thing I'm going to do is change this 2 to the power of x plus the 2 to the 4 is 16. But 2 to the negative x, I'm going to bring it to the bottom and make it 2 to the power of positive x equals 10. I'm going to take this to the top here. So I'm just going to recopy it. 2 to the power of x plus 16 over 2 to the x equals 10. To be able to do this, and this is rigid right now, unless you do common denominator here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do common denominator here. So this here, I'm going to multiply the bottom by 2 to the x and multiply the top by 2 to the x. So here, 2 to the x times 2 to the x, you add the exponents and you're going to get 2 to the power of 2x. X plus x is just 2x. And plus 16 all over 2 to the power of x equals 10. At this stage, I'm going to cross multiply 2 to the power of x right toward the 10, as some students don't know how to do this really quickly. This bottom goes right there and be besides the 10. So 2 to the power of 2x plus 16 equals 10 2 to the x. So that's like 10 times 2 to the x. Now you look at this and you wonder what we're going to do. I'm going to move all of this to the left side, and I think we could have a quadratic. So 2 to the power of 2 to the x. I'm going to move this right away to this side. So it's going to become minus 10. So that's the coefficient of 2 to the x. And then I have the plus 16 equals 0. I'm going to factor this because this is a quadratic now. So if you're factoring this, you're going to get 2 to the x minus 2 times 2 to the x minus 8. Two numbers that multiply to give you positive 16 and add to give you negative 10 is the negative 8 and negative 2 equals 0. Now, if you don't trust what I did here, just FOIL this, and I'm sure you'll get this back if you just want to double check that I'm doing this right. Now, at this stage, your zeros would be like you have two equations, 2 to the x minus 2 equals 0. 2 to the x equals 2. Now, this is 1, so x must equal 1 in this equation right here. So x equals 1. And then from the other equation, which is 2 to the power of x equal minus 8 equals 0. I'm going to move the 8 to the other side. Negative 8 to the other side becomes positive 8. Now this becomes 2 to the x, and the 8, I could change it 2 to the power of 3. Now the 2's cancel, and x equals 3. I'm going to take this right to the top here to finish it off. So if x is 1, then I just go sub in the 1 and the x right here. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So y would be 3. And this is one of your solutions. And if x here is 3, then you go to this equation, sub in 3 for the x. 4 minus 3 is 1. And this is your solution. So 1 and 3 and 3 and 1. You could sub it in here, and both of them will satisfy the second equation. Even if you sub them in here, 2 to the 1 is 2. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. 2 plus 8 is 10 if you want to double check. And if you want to do it the other way, 2 to the power of 3 is 8 plus 2 to the power of 1. Anyway, so that's basically what the answer is. Two interesting questions. I hope you enjoyed following the steps and you understood what I did. Again, your support to my channel is very important. I upload videos on a weekly basis. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment if you like, but most importantly, subscribe and share with family and friends. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time, bye-bye.